All right, y'all, welcome back to another edition of Collector's Market Watch, where we talk about all things Lorcana from a collector's perspective. That means sealed product, alternate arts, right now enchanted rares, but soon to be iconic rares, epic rares, you name it, and also promo cards. If you're new to the channel, it would mean a lot to me if you'd consider going down and subscribing. We do weekly content, Market Watch content on Tuesday, pack opening content every Sunday and Thursday, and also if you're new here, consider joining the Discord, links down in the description. And with all that out of the way, let's get into today's episode. So today's episode is what I'm basically going to kind of dub as steals and deals. So let's talk about this, because steals can mean a couple of different things. Steals in this case is very much going to mean things like don't buy these things right now because your money's going to get stolen if you do it. And then deals are going to mean something like, yeah, this might be a good time to enter the market and think about picking some of these up for your collection. So with that being said, let's dive in here. The first thing I want to talk about is going to be the pre-orders for Disney Lorcana's Reign of Jafar. I'm pretty sure I called this out last week, maybe the week before. I'm going to quickly say it again. Don't buy those. I mean, it's just them trying to grab the FOMO on you. However, I do want to call out here from a Reign of Jafar perspective, from a sealed product perspective, it actually looks pretty healthy right now. Like, I'm looking at, just kind of price points here for pre-orders. Like I'm seeing things like most things like in the low 120 range. Typically from an MSRP perspective, you're going to see things from the pre-order standpoint typically range more like $150, $200 range, which is like way absurd. But honestly, when you start to see things release in local game stores like the week prior, it used to be 2 weeks prior, but now it looks like for Reign of Jafar they're going to start doing it a week prior. 120 is a pretty solid deal. Just know up front that you won't get these until the retail release, which is going to be, I believe, June 6th. I think May 30th is the LGS release, the pre-release. June 6th is when you can expect seeing these. But honestly, from a sealed perspective, not too bad for Reign of Jafar from a booster box perspective. And same thing from the Trove. I mean, the Trove, $60. Obviously, we're going to have to kind of see how things shake out from a meta perspective. But no, I mean, same thing here. Like, I'm looking at just different prices here for Troves. That doesn't look too bad. I mean, honestly, I could see it fluctuating anywhere from like high 40s to like low 60s. That's kind of where the Troves have ended up. There's some exceptions. Obviously, like Into the Inklands is probably an exception for that because those packs are still just criminally cheap. I mean, obviously I understand a lot of them were printed, but it baffles my mind that that's the case. But nevertheless, from a sealed product perspective, Reign of Jafar actually seems like a pretty good deal from a sealed product perspective. However, from an individual card perspective and from an enchanted perspective, just a quick call out here, and I just picked a completely random one because I will call out by saying it means no worries. This might be one of my favorite non-character arts that I have seen to date. This thing is so beautiful, so amazing. I think they managed to get technically five Lion King characters on there. I believe that they are Rafiki's hands on there, but also Rafiki's in the shot. So I really don't know. Maybe they're not Rafiki's hands. Nevertheless, that doesn't really matter here for this perspective. The big thing that I want to talk about is when we think about the pre-release from an individual card perspective. Yeah, so let's look down here and let's go ahead and highlight this right here. Just we have one listing. We're going to highlight that. We're going to highlight that. No. Don't buy that. Like, don't do that. Now look, really what's going on here is basically what we have here is this is local game stores or just anyone who has the ability, who knows that they're going to have their hands on allocation, which at time of this recording, I believe this is May 20th, 2025, historical document. So obviously at this point, these stores know that they're getting allocation and they are able to, I guess, theoretically list individual cards, but at the same time, it's very difficult to know that you're going to get your hands on these individual cards. I don't know. There's very, very rare one-off occurrences. However, regardless, even if you can ensure that someone has their hands on this card, which is very difficult to do, the pricing is still out of whack, and I'll get to that in a moment. But just for anybody who's watching this right now, who's watching me talk about this, there's probably two factions of y'all. There's probably the first who is going to look at this and say, yeah, man, this is how it goes. This is how it goes every single set, and this is how it's going to go for Fabled, and then Whispers in the Well, and so on and so forth. That's just how it's going to go. You're totally right. But for those of you who are either new to Lorcana or new to TCGs in general, and you're entering into the space because of Lorcana, I'm talking to you. Just know that the individual pre-releases are It is a FOMO and a ripoff at just the absolute highest scale. And for context, look, what's really interesting about this is first of all, like, you don't even know that these individuals have their hands on these cards. And then when it comes to pass that maybe like they're delayed on allocation and you realize that you paid too much for it, you're kind of wanting your money back. And then, I mean, I don't even know how that process works. All I know is that's a lot of money to spend on a card that's so unbelievably overpriced. Just for context, just because this did get me curious. Like when I was bopping around, like looking for, I knew I was going to do a little bit on this, like for this week's episode, because we are getting closer to Reign of Jafar. When I saw this price, I was like, it got me super interested, just thinking about like, let's actually go and like look and see, just because I'm a huge data guy. Like, let's just go here and look and see. Basically what I have here is every single card that is not a character enchanted rare. Okay, so let's look at this, because that's what it means no worries is, right? It's a non-character enchanted rare. Just for context, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna X out this right here. We're gonna / let it go, just because that is not a retail enchanted rare. That is a promo from finishing, I believe, top 64 at your DLC event that you sign up for. And obviously, kind of beautiful Elsa artwork on the cover there. We'll talk a little bit more about that momentarily. But anyway, every other card, I believe, to my knowledge, is a retail enchanted rare. Okay, so let's just take the most absolute like craziness, of it. Like we got 174 here, and then let's say we've got we got here 150s, with 100. Okay, even if it means no worries ended up being like just the cream of the crop, like non-character enchanted rare, super played, like unbelievable IP with Lion King, gorgeous artwork that the collector community like latches onto, you still would say to yourself that you're paying more than 2x multiple for this card. And believe me, I understand, like, we all know about like the FOMO and stuff like that, but that is just absurd. I understand this is one specific example. There's probably non-character enchanteds that are being pre-listed for like $200, $250, right? Like that might be a little bit more reasonable. That might be like a little bit more like, oh, okay, you're only getting like slightly, raked over the coals. But just overall, you'll just really be on the lookout, and just please, like, if you want to talk about the ultimate steal, that's what it is. And it's these times in the TCG cycle, in the Lorcana cycle especially, where you can start to have those things happen to you. Look, from a sealed product perspective, like a local game store selling a box for like $140 when MSRP is $120, totally get that. Look, I honestly believe that it's our honor and our privilege to be able to support our local game stores, right? Because they're the ones who truly care, right? They're the ones who are running tournaments. They're the ones who are, buying and selling singles and like giving us the true experience over, like, look, don't get me wrong, I love Target and Walmart and the retail stores, but like they don't care about TCGs. It's just another thing on their shelf, right? So paying that little bit of extra margin when a new set comes out, there's like 6 new Pokemon sets a year, 6 Yu-Gi-Oh, 4 Lorcana, like et cetera, like, honestly, like those are the times of the year where they really are able to like make their numbers work, and at least I'm someone who's right in line to be fully supportive of those individuals. So, but at the same time, paying $400 for a card that, like, let's be real, even if it's the greatest non-character enchanted ever and it's $200, that's no bueno. So just like keep that in mind going forward, and just know that like just be very patient, especially with individual cards. And even that first week when those enchanteds come out, just let the market like breathe a little bit and shake out when it comes to like what's going to be meta, what's not, and just, kind of like take a beat on that from a FOMO standpoint. But no, I mean, I do think from a sealed standpoint, it does seem like the sealed product from a new set perspective has started to get a little bit healthier from a pre-sale perspective, which is really great to see. So that's going to be the side like that I really wanted to talk about on the steal side. Let's talk about the deal side here for a second, and I want to talk about Azurite Sea Enchanted Rares. So as I scroll up here looking at Azurite Sea Enchanted Rares, if you notice here, you will notice, and I really don't have anything too catchy to say about this except for just the obvious stat. If you look right here, like I'll just kind of highlight like some of them, there is not a single Azurite Sea Enchanted Rare for over $100 right now. Now, just for context, like again, I totally understand that what is driving a lot of prices for any of these cards right now, whether it be the newest set, some of the oldest sets, pretty much anything that's not first chapter, I totally understand. We are viewing it from a meta game player lens right now, even as it pertains to the alternate arts. Totally get it, totally respect it, and honestly, that's the signs of a pretty healthy hobby. So I can totally get with that. But when I look at the most expensive card, ironically being Lilo and Stitch, you came back, which honestly, I could see how this card could be meta. I'm not about to swim in that right now, but I will say it also is interesting that new movie is coming out, some threads to pull on there. But again, when we look at average market price, $95 for the most expensive card in a set where you probably have a 1 in 100 chance to pull one of these alt arts, and again, then we times it by 18 for this card right here. That just from a numbers perspective, that is just no question, that is a deal. And look, I really do believe over the long run, and again, this is truly just my opinion, and it's truly the reason why I absolutely love that we do these episodes every week, is because I do love every once in a while mixing, here's what I think you can expect in the long term kind of thing. Look, stuff like this from a numbers perspective, 3 to 5 years, 10 years, pick a time frame, as there becomes less Azure at Sea in circulation, they stop printing it, they don't make it anymore, you're going to get long enough down the road where packs are going to be $10 to $15, maybe even more, let alone a 1 in 100 chance to pull one of these alt arts times 18 to pull your specific alt art. The numbers just back up the fact that anything under $100 for an enchanted rare, especially the highest, high-end enchanted rares, that's just a good deal. It is of my opinion that most likely you're going to see this card right here probably surface as one of the, it will at least be one of the premier cards, which is Tiana Restaurant Owner. I just think that the Princess thread will carry weight long term. It doesn't mean that things like Baymax and others won't have their, their show or something to say on their side as well. But again, looking at Tiana Restaurant Owner as a $70 market price card, as the #1 Disney princess in the set, is just baffling to me. I understand that there's confliction in terms of the most valuable get in Azure at Sea to this day at time of this recording still remains to be Maui Shark. I also understand why they didn't print an enchanted rare of Maui Shark. It makes a whole lot of sense. It's not Maui, it's kind of a niche version of Maui, so to give it its own alternate art prominence, I understand, right? It really wouldn't make a lot of sense. Ironically, I think Maui has his own enchanted rare, and now I'm kind of going off script here a little bit. I just want to see what's the one where, yeah, right here, the islands pulled from sea, which ironically actually has Maui on it. But no, I understand right now Azure, it's very much viewed as a meta set with some cards like Maui Shark, I believe Calhoun and Genie Wish Fulfilled. And I honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't know how much those cards are to this point, but it's always been looked at as a meta set. I totally get that, but at the same time, these cards are they're difficult to pull, and at some point you're going to see them pop. So if you are looking for for a way to start filling out certain sets, certain alt arts and sets, enchanteds and sets, this is absolutely a great place where I would start looking if I were you, because I even looked, I think packs of Azure at Sea are $4 a pack right now. It's a really, really, really good deal. Really good deal for a long-term set that I'm sure, just like anything else in a successful TCG, will have prominence down the road. So that is certainly one deal to keep your eyes out for. Another deal to keep your eyes out for is going to be Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. So if you are not aware of this, when Fable does come out, they are going to be reprinting epic rares, reprinting cards from first chapter, etc., into these alternate arts that are called epic rares. We did a video on it a couple of videos ago when they did the announcement for Fable, then the new rarities, epic, iconic. I'll link that down in the description if you want to go watch that video. We did kind of a dive into how those things will affect the market. So if you're interested in that from a rarity perspective, how stuff like that will affect the market, go give that a watch. But Tinkerbell Giant Fairy is one that is looking like it's seeing a little bit of hurt from that, a little bit of headwind from that. Obviously, we see this huge dip in price right here, coming off of the 3 month. This is absolutely at time of understanding that it will probably be, or it is going to be confirmed to be reprinted as an epic rare. However, I would just, from a collector's standpoint, because that's kind of the arc that we're taking from this, I would just have everyone's like antennas be up to the fact that when we look at Tink Giant Fairy, the headwind of Tink Giant Fairy from an enchanted rare perspective, from the first chapter, a set that will have collectability for the long run, especially from a single perspective, from like a non-sealed product perspective. Like, obviously there are some headwinds from first chapter from a perspective of like, from a sealed perspective, you really need to know where you're getting that box, right? Of course, because it just has the wafer strips on it, the wafer tape on it, and the rip strip. It's not actually in the plastic, so that's a little dicey there. Like, obviously you want to make sure you have a reputable seller. But from an individual card perspective, from an enchanted perspective, like if you're holding the card, you're holding the card, right? Obviously, you want to make sure. I know there's a lot of talk and a lot of confirmed cases out there of fakes and things like that. But at the same time, if you do have a good eye, or you do go through things like eBay authenticity guarantee, like there are some ways around that. But I just be on the lookout for Tink Giant Fairy, especially as we get later on into the summer, where Fabled starts to get, a little bit more hype around it. I know we haven't even gone through Rain of Jafar yet, and we will, but just like keep your eyes on this card. If you're looking to pinpoint like a big banger to add to your collection, and you don't have this one in your collection yet, I do still think that long term this card has an amazing future, because just know, and again, I know it's hard to look long term like this, but just remember, when we think about like set rotation and stuff like that, like it's only going to be the last X amount of sets that you're going to be able to use before they're out of rotation. I know it's crazy to think about because we haven't even gotten to rotation yet. Fabled isn't even here yet, right? But like there will come the day where Fabled is not in rotation anymore. And when that happens, believe me, all that will remain is Tinkerbell Giant Fairy chillin' as an alt art enchanted in the first ever set of what is hopefully a very successful TCG. So just know that like if you see this dip here for Tink, and it's a sustained dip, and certainly if it goes any lower, don't be afraid to pull the trigger on that if you were thinking about it before. So that's one deal that I'm looking at. I do want to talk about Elsa Spirit of Winter for a second, and look, I'm going to take a chance to talk about this card anytime I can, just because obviously it is the benchmark for anything collectability, especially from a retail perspective in the set or in the hobby. I do get a lot of talk and a lot of comments, which thank you all so much for leaving comments down in the comment section. Believe me when I say I read all of them and I respond to all that I can, I promise you. So always feel free to leave me a comment down in the comment section, and so we can interact in there or in Discord. Just hit me up, mention me, like do whatever you want. Truly love interacting with y'all. I've had so many conversations around Elsa Spirit of Winter, and rightfully so. But before we kind of get into that, let's just at least get our feet wet here with when we talk about like from a price perspective with Elsa. Right now, chilling kind of in the in the mid 8s, but I will tell you what, it is absolutely roasting in price right now. If you look at it from a 3-month perspective, also a 6-month perspective, card is just doing absolutely fantastic year to date, and also 3-month perspective, card just continues to trickle up in price. Couple of interesting things that I will have my eye on for Elsa Spirit of Winter from an enchanted perspective, from the perspective of like a collectability perspective and an enchanted perspective. With the release of Reign of Jafar, marks a very, very big moment for this specific card, because with Reign of Jafar will bring about the introduction into a new card, a new enchanted rare that will have Elsa prominently featured on the card. And that card will be Into the Unknown. Now, I will say we did just call it out earlier on in the session together that the Let It Go promo from the Top 64 DLC can't really make the face out all too well, but like realistically, that's like 99.999% chance that's Elsa, right? However, it really does not like feature her. The card art is more the ice magic that is going on with the card, which is just equally as unbelievably cool. But here we get both. We get Elsa and we get the ice magic, and this will be a very, very interesting moment for Elsa Spirit of Winter from a collectability standpoint, as at the same time Into the Unknown from a collectability standpoint. Now look, from a gameplay perspective, I mean, Again, I think I called this out in one of my last episodes as I was ripping packs and just kind of talking about the enchanted rares. Look, this card absolutely, again, I don't want to swim out of my depth, but the card could have playability. Look, it's a 3-cost inkable. Anything inkable has got a chance, and then also anything low cost inkable, even better odds. The only issue that, you know, obviously could run into, even like before we even start looking at text and understanding the mechanics of it, is it is dual link, so you got to play it in a very specific deck, right? You have to play it. In Amethyst Steel. So that is, Amethyst Sapphire. But so that is one thing that could give it a little bit of a headwind. But I am really truly looking at this card from a collectability perspective. Like, again, if the card is non-playable, like let's just say it's not that good of a card. Now I don't want to say non-playable, but like just not that great of a card, right? Like for example, like let's just say like this isn't Maui Shark, this isn't Tamatoa, like this isn't, you know, this is, and I understand those are both character rares, or character cards, but it's not breaking the meta, right? Like if that's what we have with this card, is this card cracking $100? Because that would be pretty impressive, right? Like to me, that would show that like that this card is getting driven and carried a lot from a collectability standpoint, from a Frozen standpoint, from an Elsa standpoint. Those are very big deals. Like that is the preeminent Disney princess in the current landscape of Disney that we're living in today. So that could very well be. Now, let's say the card is playable. Let's say that it is featured in, like, let's say Amethyst Sapphire is, you know, a hot combo, and a lot of people are playing it, and this card maybe has something to do with it. Does this card crack $200? Like, to be honest with you, I would fully expect that it would, because All Is Found, which is kind of leading the pack for the non-character enchanted rares, as we saw earlier, that's a $175 card. So why couldn't this card, you know, crack the $200 mark? Does it go even higher, right? And again, it might not. It totally might not. But I am interested to see how much Elsa being on here, Frozen, you know, like, I am interested to see how this card reacts to the market, and then how Elsa Spirit of Winter reacts because of that, because they have been very, very, very careful with Elsa. If you've noticed, there hasn't been any, of course, any, you know, enchanteds with Elsa on it since Elsa Spirit of Winter, and it would be just my opinion that they will be very careful with that card, because that card, from a collectability standpoint and just what it means to the hobby in general, that card is a big deal for, you know, just for the hobby at large, especially from a collector's standpoint. I think that card, while it's trading at like average market price, mid, you know, 800s, I think the next closest card, I don't think it's over 300. So like you have a two, like honestly, it might be Giant Tank. So you have like Giant Tank, Stitch Carefree Surfer, Bell Strange But Special. Those are probably like your next tier. Those are all pretty much probably chilling somewhere like mid to high 200 range. And then you have this massive spike to Elsa 850. Let me tell you, that is absolutely the one time where I think we can all agree that it is the collector's market that is doing that. I'm not saying the card's not playable, but it is those individual collectors or groups coming in, not just from Lorcana space, but other space. And I've always said this, like thinking that that's their Charizard base set, or their, you know, LOB Blue Eyes or whatever. Like that is that card for those individuals, right? They want to get their sort of market share of that card. So it is my opinion that they're going to be very careful with Elsa. Now again, I also have lots of conversations with individuals in the Discord and in comment section where they believe truly, like, they really need to be giving Elsa an iconic rare. Like maybe they'll do it in Whispers in the Well, something like that. But again, right, like with every action, there is a ripple and there is a reaction, right? So like you start giving Elsa an iconic rare, what does that do to the enchanted? All of a sudden, like what does the market value as like the preeminent card? So it'll just be very interesting to see how this card, I know like I could be making a mountain out of a molehill here. When we look at this card, it might just be a non-character enchanted that is worth $50. Like we will see. I will be very interested to see how this card reacts in the market. And it's truly, it's why it's like one of the reasons why I absolutely love collecting and I absolutely love doing this stuff, because it's just interesting to see how these cards will react. So we'll see what happens there. Also, just want to call out a couple things on the eBay front. I know I get all sorts of comments in the comment section saying like, hey, do like a little tidbit on eBay, stuff like that. I want to know like what's being traded for from a PSA standpoint, from a higher end standpoint. So we're going to do that right now. A couple of things jumped out at me. I typically try to take it in the past like few days. I really don't like going further out than that, just because There's just so many things that can be affected, especially right now where there's so many changes to the hobby. There's a new set coming, there's new rarities announced, things like that. Like I really want to shorten my timeline on that side of things. But I did think it was interesting, this like just kind of at least calling out and drawing parallels with this Tiana restaurant owner selling for, $235. What this tells me, first and foremost, like I think this is very, very fair price for an absolutely beautiful, top princess enchanted rare from Azure at Sea, which we literally just did a segment on, talking about how this Tiana is like $70 raw market price right now. So what this tells me is that the market is still accepting PSA 10s, and that's not really that shocking at all. I'd be fascinated to see what a 9 is going for right now. I wasn't really able to find one. I'm sure I'll do a little bit more digging, and I'm sure another one will come up and be sold. It'll be interesting to see. I've always said, about that 2.5 to 3x multiple, depending on what type of how like valuable the card is, etc. So 235 would tell me that like you'd be looking at like a 90-ish, $100-ish Tiana raw. That should pretty much be the appropriate cost. That's what the card was trading at for the longest time. But again, as I was doing research, I looked through Azure Enchanteds and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like there's nothing over $100. Like this is wild to me. So again, all the more reason why I just would call out that when we talk about that Tiana, if you can find that Tiana like 70, even $80, like to me, that is just very, very, very fair value right now. Shout out to whoever bought this. I think it's a very fair deal. And, like all things, as time passes, commodities, like, yeah, this is a great, most things are a great deal when you buy and hold them for a really long time in this space and in the game that we play. But no, it just really got me thinking about that raw Tiana, where I'm just thinking like, man, that is cheap. All right, so just something to think about there. And then the other call out that I'll make is I noticed someone was able to get their hands on the D23 2024 collector's edition, sealed, $150. To me, this seems like a great deal. It's very interesting to me that you're able to get this for this price. That is really low. That is really low. And I understand that obviously this is printed way more of than the first iteration of the D23 with the first edition stamps. We've done a whole bit on that. I'm sure we'll do more in the future. But man, like really, really surprising to me. 150 is cheap, man. I pulled it up just out of curiosity and like looking at average price right now. I mean, again, we're chilling at like 175, but obviously we see here like this just absolutely drastic shift downwards. Dropped, looks like what, 33% in price over the last 3 months. Unbelievable deal right now, in my opinion. Like if you can find, like if you're looking to pick these up, go for it. Like, I mean, honestly, at some point here, like how many cards are in that thing? Like six cards, right? There's six cards, because they would have had the Oswald from Azure as the card that wasn't out yet. So yeah, I mean, at some point, like these cards, like at some point long term, I mean, this, you got what, even 5 divided by 150 is $30. So you're talking about like low mid 20s for, per card. I realize some of those cards aren't going for that, but like long term, it's probably a pretty safe bet. So yeah, just something interesting to keep your eyes out for that. If you were thinking about picking up anything on the Azure side, anything on, from a sealed perspective like the D23, I think it's probably a pretty good time from a deal perspective. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of Collector's Market Watch. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed today's content, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Go join the Discord, links down in the description. Leave us comments, things you want me to talk about on the next iteration of Market Watch in the following week. And until next time, we're eternally grateful for you all, and we'll see y'all on the other side. Peace out.